Have you ever felt it? That deep, almost aching hunger for something so visceral, so vital, that it consumes your every thought and obsession, that drives you to push harder, hustle faster, and force life into submission. We've been taught to call that strength, to glorify the struggle, to worship the chase. But what if the very frequency of that desperation is the invisible wall keeping everything you desire just out of reach? What if the most profound manifestation power you hold isn't in the grind, but in the sacred pause in the moment you finally let go? If this message stirs something deep in your soul, if you recognize yourself in this exhausting paradox, know this: you are not failing, you are awakening. The shift you seek begins not with more effort, but with deeper surrender. Not the kind of surrender that means giving up, but the kind that says, I trust now. The moment you release your white-knuckled grip on how life should unfold, the universe begins to weave something far greater than your fear-driven mind could ever engineer. This isn't passivity, it's alignment. It's magnetic, it's powerful beyond measure. And if you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting, let the universe hear you. Type, I am ready to let go in the comments. Like this message to anchor it in your field. Subscribe to join a space where we don't force reality, we co-create with it. Because when you stop trying to outrun the present moment, everything you've been running toward finally arrives. And it's crucial to understand, this magical unfolding doesn't happen because you gave up. It doesn't happen because you threw in the towel and resigned yourself to a life of less. It happens because you finally, courageously created space. You cleared the energetic clutter. You carved out a sacred emptiness in your life, a space for clarity to dawn like the morning sun. You created a space for true alignment, where your soul's frequency can finally synchronize with the frequency of your desires. You created a space for life, for source energy, for the divine to actually reach you, to deliver the very blessings you were too busy chasing to receive. It is in this stillness that miracles are born. It is in this quiet trust that your true power is reclaimed. You must understand the fundamental spiritual law at play here. The universe does not respond to your demands, it responds to your vibration. The energy of frantic chasing is a broadcast of profound lack. It screams into the cosmos, I don't have this, it is separate from me, I am incomplete without it. And the universe, in its infinite and impartial wisdom, simply reflects that signal back to you, ensuring that the very thing you chase remains perpetually at a distance. We live in a world that tragically glorifies this chase. It has been woven into the very fabric of our society. We are sold a narrative of hustle culture, a relentless, exhausting push that is celebrated as the only path to worthiness. We are bombarded with manifestation hacks and obsessive goal-setting techniques that, while well-intentioned, often anchor us more deeply in the frantic energy of doing rather than the magnetic power of being. It's always about running towards something external that we believe holds the key to our happiness. A person, a promotion, a number in a bank account. We are conditioned to believe that our value is located somewhere in the future, just beyond the finish line of our next great effort. But here is the profound, life-altering truth that very few will ever speak about, the truth that can set you free from this exhausting cycle forever. The more you chase something from a place of perceived lack, from a feeling of emptiness or not enoughness, the more you confirm to your powerful subconscious mind, the architect of your reality, that you do not have it. And your reality, your physical world, it listens to that deep inner signal with perfect fidelity. It mirrors it. The world around you will literally rearrange itself to validate your deepest belief, the belief that you are in a state of pursuit, not a state of arrival. When you are trapped in this constant state of pursuit, your energy becomes tight, constricted, and brittle. Think about how your body feels when you are chasing. Your shoulders are tense, your breath is shallow, your jaw is clenched. This isn't the posture of a powerful creator. It's the posture of someone bracing for a fight against life itself. Your body gets anxious, flooded with the stress hormones that cloud your judgment and disconnect you from your higher self. Your decisions become reactive instead of intentional. You're not operating from your calm, centered soul. You're reacting to the fear of missing out, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being left behind. You end up making life infinitely harder than it needs to be, building obstacles with your own resistance, and then wondering why the path is so difficult. You are, in essence, trying to swim upstream against the powerful current of divine flow, exhausting yourself in a battle that was never meant to be fought. The universe isn't trying to withhold from you. It's waiting for you to get out of your own way. It's waiting for you to stop fighting and start floating. But there is something incredibly powerful, something almost supernatural that begins to happen the moment you consciously decide to stop chasing. Remember, this isn't about giving up, it's about leveling up. It's a profound shift in your spiritual posture. It's because you've shifted from a state of begging to a state of becoming. You let go of the ego's desperate need to control every single outcome. You stop trying to negotiate with life through the lens of fear and anxiety. You stop running after people, hoping their attention will finally validate your existence. You stop chasing a specific vision of success, hoping it will finally make you feel whole. Instead, you create stillness. You cultivate an inner sanctuary of peace, and from that stillness, a new power awakens within you. You stop chasing, and you begin to attract. This isn't some surface-level advice about just stop caring. It's a fundamental shift in your frequency, a deliberate recalibration of your entire being. It's a shift in your presence. Because when your identity is completely wrapped up in the chase, in the struggle, in the pursuit, you will never ever recognize the moment when what you've been asking for finally arrives. You'll be too busy running to see that you've already crossed the finish line. You'll still be running, still searching, blind to the miracle that is standing right in front of you. Most people are terrified by this idea. They think that stopping the chase means losing all momentum, that if they pause, they'll fall hopelessly behind. But the truth is the exact opposite. Let's break this illusion once and for all. When you're constantly chasing something, whether it's love, validation, success, or even a sense of inner peace, your energy is broadcasting one single powerful message. I don't have it yet. And that is precisely what your reality keeps reflecting back to you. You get stuck in a painful, heart-wrenching cycle of almost. You're almost happy. You're almost there. You're almost healed. It's an exhausting, never-ending treadmill of striving. But the moment you shift out of that desperation, something fundamental changes at your core. Instead of acting from a place of fear, the fear of missing out, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being alone, you begin to move with a calm, unshakable clarity. You no longer seek from a place of lack, you begin to create from a place of wholeness. That subtle but profound difference, that is what transforms everything. It is the master key that unlocks the life you were always meant to live. Because here's what the chase really does. It mercilessly pulls you out of the present moment. And the present moment is the only place where you have any real power. It is the only point where you can connect with Source and create your reality. When you're not present, you miss everything. You don't notice the subtle sign, the synchronicity, the right opportunity when it shows up right in front of you, because your focus is fixated on a distant future. You don't feel the gentle nudges of your intuition when it's guiding you, because its whispers are drowned out by the roar of your anxious mind. You don't hear the profound truth in your own silence because you're too busy screaming into the void, begging life to finally listen to you. But life isn't deaf. It's just waiting patiently for you to calm down long enough to receive its guidance. This is precisely why people say that the right person shows up when you stop looking. It's why your best, most brilliant ideas come to you in the shower, not when you're forcing yourself to brainstorm at your desk. It's not magic, it's alignment. It's your nervous system finally being still enough to notice what was always trying to reach you. You don't need to abandon your goals or your dreams, but you absolutely must release your death grip on the specific outcome. You must let go of the obsession over the how and the when. That is the energy that blocks the very flow you're trying to access. There is a world of difference between showing up with intention and showing up with obsession. One is powerful, grounded, and magnetic. The other is draining, frantic, and repellent. When you stop chasing, you give yourself the most precious gift of all, permission to actually live. You slow down, you breathe again, deeply, into the core of your being. And most importantly, you remember that your worth was never ever attached to the thing you were running after in the first place. And from that grounded, centered place, the things that are truly meant for you, the things that are in true alignment with your soul, finally have the space and the opportunity to arrive. So, what really happens when you stop chasing? It's not that life suddenly, overnight, hands you everything you ever wanted on a silver platter. It's that your perception changes. And that, my friend, is more powerful than you could ever realize. See, when you're chasing something, you are energetically placing it outside of yourself. You create an invisible wall. a separation between you and the thing you desire. It becomes something out there, something separate from you, something you secretly believe you're not yet worthy of. And every time you try to force it closer, you just reinforce the painful idea that it's not already a part of your essence. That mindset alone quietly sabotages all your progress. But when you stop chasing, you begin to embody the very state you thought the goal would bring you. Instead of running frantically toward peace, you become peaceful. Instead of desperately searching for love, you become a beacon of love. That shift changes what you attract, but more importantly, it changes what you are willing to accept. Think about it like this. A person who is chasing success will say yes to anything that looks like progress, even if it burns them out, even if it makes them miserable, even if it means sacrificing their mental and spiritual health. Why? Because they're afraid the real, aligned opportunity might never come, so they settle for a convincing illusion. But a person who has stopped chasing, that person is selective. That person is grounded, centered, and unbothered by the noise of the world. They don't chase, they choose. That level of inner peace is profoundly magnetic. You begin to notice things you overlooked before, the people who genuinely care, the quiet moments that actually feel like freedom, the abundance that is already present in your life but was buried beneath all the frantic noise in your head. And here's the wild part. Other people notice it too. There's a silent confidence that emanates from someone who no longer needs anything outside of themselves to feel complete. You stop oversharing, you stop proving, you stop explaining your worth. And people feel that. You're no longer projecting insecurity, you're radiating clarity. Opportunities that once felt hopelessly out of reach begin to find their way to you, not because you hustled harder, but because you finally became the version of yourself who is ready to hold them. You don't have to play by the rules of a world that profits from your panic and your feeling of inadequacy. When you stop chasing, you reclaim something sacred, your attention, your peace, your power to respond rather than react. And in that stillness, you start to build from a place of alignment rather than a place of anxiety. And let's be honest, how many decisions in your past came from a place of pressure rather than a place of presence? That's what chasing does. It blinds you with a false sense of urgency. But when you finally stop, when you exhale and truly look around, you see that you were never behind. You were just distracted. There is a strange and beautiful irony in life. The more desperately you want something, the more it seems to slip through your fingers. Not because you're cursed, but because desperation creates noise, and that noise blocks your intuition. When you're constantly chasing a person, a goal, a version of success, you're not actually listening to life, you're trying to overpower it. You're trying to bend the world to your will, and that tension, that friction, it leaves no space for clarity to enter. You think you're being proactive, but what you're really doing is avoiding the stillness that would have shown you what actually matters. Here's something no one tells you. Most of what you chase isn't even your own desire. Think about that for a moment. So many of the things people run after, the job titles, the specific types of relationships, the status symbols, they were inherited. They were handed down by culture, by family, by social media, by fear. But when you slow down enough to question why you want something, you start to uncover something much deeper. Maybe you didn't really want that kind of love. You just wanted to stop feeling invisible. Maybe you didn't really want that specific version of success. You just didn't want to feel like a failure. This is what makes stopping so powerful. Because when you stop chasing, you are forced to face yourself. Not the version of you that's always doing, but the soul underneath, the one that quietly asks, what do I really want? And who told me I couldn't already be it? And that, right there, is where true transformation begins. Not with more hustle, not with more effort, but with brutal, soul-shaking clarity. Because chasing often comes from a hidden belief that you're not enough, that you're lacking, that if you just get one more thing, then you'll finally be okay. But once you pause, you begin to see that your worth doesn't increase with your achievements. It was always there, absolute and unconditional, just buried under layers of performance. And here's where things get truly powerful. When you stop chasing and start choosing, life becomes less about proving and more about aligning. You stop asking, how do I get there? And you start asking, does that even feel like me? That's when the energy shifts. You're no longer walking into rooms hoping to be picked. You walk in already knowing you belong, or you choose to walk away when the energy isn't right. You don't beg for love, you are love. You don't try to earn your place, you claim it by being fully and unapologetically you. And slowly, everything starts to align. Not because you chased it, but because you made space for it to find you. This is something worth sitting with. When you stop chasing, life doesn't stop moving, it starts flowing. That's the part nobody tells you. You've been trained to believe that if you're not running full speed ahead, you're falling behind. That if you're not constantly grinding, pushing, obsessing, then you're losing. But have you ever noticed how the most powerful people in any room are rarely the loudest? They're the calmest. Because real power doesn't chase, it attracts. When you stop chasing, you shift from a state of force to a state of magnetism. It's a mental shift that changes everything, from needing to knowing, from scarcity to trust. Suddenly, you stop trying to convince people to stay in your life. You stop begging for recognition. You stop trying to micromanage every outcome. Instead, you start choosing what matches your peace, your energy, and your values. You become selective, not out of arrogance, but out of profound self-alignment. And that alignment changes the game. The way you walk into rooms changes, the way you respond to life changes, the way you hold yourself is completely different. People start sensing it too. Not because you're louder, but because you're anchored. Think of it like this: a tree doesn't chase the sunlight, it simply grows toward it. And the stronger its roots, the more it thrives through every season. That's what happens when you stop chasing. You start rooting into who you really are. You grow upward, but also inward. You stop reaching for things that don't even feed your soul. That's when your energy becomes different. You're no longer easily shaken by rejection because you're no longer seeking validation from places that were never meant to see you. You're no longer drained by people who only show up when they need something because you've stopped entertaining connections that don't reciprocate. You become quieter, but more powerful. And that power, it's not about control, it's about presence. You stop chasing outcomes and start mastering your responses. You stop trying to bend life into a straight line and start flowing with its curves, its pauses, its unexpected turns. You realize that not getting what you wanted was often a divine redirection, not a punishment. And from this place, things come to you. Not because you demanded them, but because you became the person who no longer needs to demand anything at all. You stopped proving and you started being. And that shift from desperation to embodiment is where everything changes. Here is what no one teaches you. When you stop chasing, you start receiving in ways you never even expected. Not because you gave up, but because you finally gave in to the right things, to clarity, to self-worth, to stillness. You start making decisions not from fear, but from trust. And when your decisions are rooted in trust, your outcomes begin to reflect that inner shift. People begin treating you differently, not because they changed, but because your boundaries did. Because your silence started speaking louder than your old explanations ever could. Because you no longer chase, so they either step up or step away. And both are blessings. That is the moment everything starts making sense. You're no longer constantly exhausted, constantly anxious, constantly proving your value. You're no longer hooked into outcomes or timelines that were never yours to begin with. You realize peace is not something to chase, it's something to protect. And when you protect it, your whole reality changes shape. Even the way you experience time changes. Moments feel fuller, conversations feel more real. Life slows down, not because less is happening, but because you're no longer rushing past it. You're in it, fully, you're present. And in that presence, you start to notice the things that actually matter, the things you used to miss while chasing something else. You don't become passive, you become precise. You don't stop caring, you start caring better. And the irony? The less you force, the more flows to you. Opportunities show up when you're not fixated on needing them. Love deepens when you're not desperate for it. People respect you more when you respect your own energy enough to stop running after what isn't yours. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you reclaim your life. Not in theory, but in practice, in energy, in how you show up today, in how you carry yourself into every room, into every decision, into every silence. You don't need to chase to be chosen. You don't need to run to arrive. You just need to remember who you were before the world told you to become someone else. There's a moment that quietly arrives when you've exhausted yourself trying to control every outcome, impress every person, and hold together things that were never meant to be yours in the first place. That moment is silence not from the world, but from within you. And in that silence, something begins to click. You realize it was never about chasing anything. It was about remembering that you were already enough before you even started running. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the decision to stop negotiating your peace in exchange for temporary validation. It's not giving up, it's waking up. Because here's the truth. Everything you chased from desperation either ran from you or broke you. But the things you attracted in moments of alignment, those are the things that felt real, effortless, and grounding. They were drawn to your presence, not your pressure. You don't have to fight to be seen. You don't have to beg to be chosen. When you stop chasing, the things that resonate with your real self begin to stay. Not because you chased them down, but because they recognized where they belong. People will call it mysterious. They'll say you glow differently. But it's not mystery, it's mastery. It's what happens when you stop outsourcing your power to things outside of you. When you stop bending over backward, trying to earn what should come naturally. When you stop running toward every open door and instead wait for the one that actually leads somewhere. You stop trying to be enough for everyone and start being more than enough for yourself. And yes, that shift might make some people uncomfortable. That's okay. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to align with what's true. So, ask yourself right now, what are you still chasing that has already shown you it doesn't value your effort? What weight are you carrying that was never yours to begin with? This is your sign to put it down, to stop begging, to stop proving, to stop running, and just return to your breath, to your body, to your peace. Because that's when everything changes, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped forcing yourself. If this message hit something real for you, I want you to drop a comment below. Let me know, what are you letting go of starting today? And if you found this valuable, subscribe, not for numbers, but for alignment. This space is here to remind you of everything you already are. Your energy belongs here.